What is the BIMWell course? Hi everyone, I'm Katelyn Rossier, a licensed architect, owner of mentorDINO, and creator of this course. But why did I create mentorDINO to begin with? I noticed that there are so many gaps in the profession, and finding ways that we need to fill those gaps to help grow the profession as a whole. mentorDINO was created to empower the architect, engineering, and construction industry through innovative solutions addressing these multifaceted gaps in knowledge. Our commitment is to elevate the entire profession by fostering a holistic and collaborative environment. The BIMWell course focuses specifically on the gaps between academia and practice. Students are coming out with fantastic problem-solving knowledge, great design eye, but not understanding how to get it actually constructed and built. Oftentimes, they are using programs that really can do anything and everything. They're not learned about budget constraints, all the different materials, how to detail things differently based on the different materials, and how to ask better questions. So the BIMWell course is here to bridge that gap between academia and the professional world, to teach them tools and strategies that they can use to ask better questions and give them a more solid foundation when starting out at a firm. So how do I do this? The BIMWell course is all about understanding that you need to create a road for them to learn on and have a road for them to drive on. So it's giving them that upfront training, which we know not everyone will remember everything, but you need to know the road exists to be able to ask the questions and look for it. So this is all about creating a foundation where they can understand that there are different milestones and places to hit, and there are different roads and ways to get there, but they may need to come back and take a look when actually it's time to do that task to understand what turns they need to take on the road and what the specific direction is. So the BIMWell course is all about setting that foundation, laying the groundwork of all the different roadways that they can go and destinations they need, and then giving them the tool to come back to be a map and resource for them. Another way you can look at it is how we teach and train. Oftentimes, it is all about trial and error, and then the seasoned professionals get stressed out, they get burned out, and spend a lot of time just remarking up drawings and trying to teach the same thing. If there are training videos to help you through this process, instead of the trial and error looking like this, where they try it once and they fail, and then it's a cycle of trying again and again and again before they're successful. What if you laid a better foundation to start with, and it still may not be perfect, and there may be things they need to learn that are project specific for that task, but if there's only one iteration of retry, how much more can they get done in a day? How much work are they not redoing that they feel empowered and accomplished with the things they're doing? And how much more time will everybody have to get the project done and be successful if the retry section is a lot quicker? And it's about understanding that we build complicated structures, and it takes time to learn through this, and it takes time to teach it along the way. But make sure that you spend more time teaching the specifics on a particular project or a particular detail and less on the basics. So what is the BIMWell course? Once you're inside the course, this is generally what the platform looks like. It is set up a little bit more like a linear course, but you can go back and access things at any time. As you finish a particular section, the circles on the left will fill in blue and have a check mark on them whenever they are complete. If it is a half circle filled, that means you're partial way through that section, so you know where you've left off. And if it's fully empty, that means you haven't checked it out yet. There is a completion bar on there as well, so you can see how far you've gotten. But in the BIMWell section, it's generally all live demos by me. And in this one, I pulled out actually dimensioning from an exterior, and I talk about really making sure there are whole dimensions, or talking about how brick can have its own dimensions to it, so understanding brick dimensions versus if you're doing metal panel and understanding what different things need to be. and how to tag things. I also go into other concepts like putting in a door, how a door is framed to make sure there's enough room for the door, where the door swing is, understanding ADA clearances, if the door swing needs to change based on the occupancy itself within the building or the room, or the client type itself. In the course itself, it is broken out into 3 sections, and this is more about organizing. It's not as pertinent to go through line by line like some of my other courses, but the different sections, I have section 1, which is the overview. I talk about anything as simple as cover sheet and general sheets. I actually have a general sheet from a friend of mine that owns a firm that I go through what different details are or different naming conventions, general information, and give them tools to be able to go look at your general sheets for their office to figure out what's on them so they can go through the rest of the set. I talk about what a sheet list is, how to organize it, what dynamic information you need to populate the sheet list, placing views on sheets, simple things like that. Then the rest of the section's broken out a little bit more about sheet sections, so floor plans and everything that a young professional would likely be working on within floor plans, what different wall types are, tagging walls, how to place them, dimensions, doors, clearances, and how to dimension them in general. A lot of the time students aren't taught how to dimension, so that drafting nature is not come through in their knowledge from the university. I talk about phasing in this section, how we can have existing and new, or if you're in a healthcare project and you've got multiple phases because you have to phase out the work, understanding phasing and how it works and how that works with visibility is important. The second part is all about details. So in this section, I go over interior elevations, plan details, drafting views, understanding when to use a drafting view versus a live view, and how to use different drafting components. I talk about door schedule, a little bit about door hardware so they understand the basics of it. In this section, I even go over 3 different ways to do interior elevations, understanding that each firm is going to have their own standard and it may be even something different than these 3, but educating the young professional that there are multiple ways to draft something to communicate the intent, and how they draft it may change from firm to firm as they grow within their career, but being able to go in and show them what the section should look like, depending if you're tagging casework, dimensioning all the casework, putting in sections and what needs to go on the information. And so they know what to look for in your firm standards or to be able to ask questions along the way. The last section is actually about construction. And I talk a little bit on Revit and drawings, but I talk about some other components as well. So starting off with the drawing section, I talk about what it means to issue an addendum versus a bulletin, having write-ups, what clouds mean, how to create a cloud, how to create different revisions and tagging, and to make sure that shows up on the sheet list. But most importantly, understanding that this is how the contractor knows specific spots on where changes are made. I also go over the basics on what happens with the specifications. How do we edit specs when something is new that's been added versus taken out and strike through? And then some other components, I talk about RFIs and submittals. You would be amazed how many young professionals coming out of school have no idea what RFI stands for. So I go over what the acronym stands for, how you need to respond it, how language could change and what you need to look for, and how somebody should review their RFI response before sending it back to the contractor. And finally, I talk about submittals. This one I talk a little bit more how to read through a spec where you're looking for information, but understanding what a submittal is, the different types of submittals, and what you need to be reviewing and looking for, and when to go and ask questions when you are over your head. So that is a little bit about the BIMWell course. It is meant to be able to bridge that gap between academia and practice and be able to help foster some more of those technical skills to help architects, engineers, and designers be more curious about their work, ask better questions, and hopefully be able to catch more errors in the design phase rather than catching errors and mistakes during the construction phase. If you want to learn more about what is in the BIMWell course, you can head over to my website where I actually give you a sneak peek clip from one of the lessons that I go through. And if you have any questions, I am always here to answer them as well. And you can also check out the Young Professional bundle I have, where I bundle this course with a Revit crash course if you've never seen Revit before, and the Build Your Foundation course, where I work on that other arm on the human skill side of being an architect, engineer, designer, or contractor. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning more about this course, and I hope to see you over there.